intimacy and why it matters on this segment of It's Scary to Remarry. What's up, Brave Hearts community? I am excited about today's segment. First time guest, you are in for a treat. I'm so happy about this segment and today's guest, first time visitor. Today's guest is an Atlanta based psychiatrist and certified sex therapist known for her focus on holistic wellness and mental health education. She is the founder of the brand Mind Body Sex, which explores the intersection of physical health, psychological well-being, and sexual wellness. You have seen her on OWN and also on Essence Magazine and so much more. Brave Arts community, let's show some love to Dr. Natalia Fuller. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the amazing introduction. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you for this opportunity. I want to jump into today's segment because I want to make sure that I honor your time. This topic of emotional intimacy, how would you define, in your own words, emotional intimacy?
So we're gonna look at it from like a psychological and sex therapy lens, right? Because there's a lot
Mhm.
of different definitions. So we're gonna hone into those two definitions. So, emotional intimacy is the capacity to be seen, known, and accepted by another person without fear of rejection. Because as humans, we've all, have the fear of rejection at times when you're married or in a relationship, situationship, you know. So it involves mutual vulnerability, emotional attunement, trust, and psychological safety. So clinically, as therapists, we talk about how it reflects secure attachment behaviors, openness, responsiveness, and then, of course, emotional availability.
Mhm. I love that. Oh man, yeah, emotional intimacy. That's good because I think a lot of us crave it, but we don't know how to get to that place.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. And there's a lot of research, on attachment, right? Um,
hmm
that shows that adults with secure attachment report significantly higher relationship satisfaction and sexual satisfaction, of course, which is important, than those who have that insecure attachment style.
hmm what is it's kind of ballpark figure secure attachment? Do we have more or less secure people in relationships? Is there less? Or what are your thoughts?
I really don't know the stats on that, but from what I've seen in
hmm
therapy, the couples that I've had that have been in poly relationships and monogamy relationships, there are a lot of secure individuals, but I have seen a lot of instances where when they're in a relationship with someone that's insecure or has an avoidant attachment style, sometimes it can affect their attachment style as well. So they might start off secure and then they might kind of dabble a little bit into being anxious. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see, how over the years how your partner can impact your own attachment style if they're not secure as well.
That's good. Yeah, so it's important on who you decide to connect with.
Absolutely.
That's good. Y'all be careful out there. Find you some secure people.
Right.
Oh, why do so many people confuse physical intimacy with emotional intimacy?
That's really good. Because physical intimacy provides immediate neurochemical rewards, right? So we've all heard of dopamine, oxytocin, and just endorphins in general, right? So
Mhm.
those chemicals help us feel connection, right? Which is what we all want. We want to feel connection. However, these chemicals can also create like an illusion of closeness. So without like slowing down, actually doing the work, you feel like, oh, I'm getting emotional disclosure and we're trust building. And that's not actually what happens. And then you put sex and intimacy on top of that. And then sometimes it's just kind of like a recipe for disaster. And so, what I've seen through my work with working, within the sex therapy realm is that sexual arousal increases perceived closeness with a lot of individuals, especially women.
Mhm.
But this effect, of course, is short term because without emotional bonding, you're not actually connecting with that person.
Mm, yeah. I like when you said that. Yeah, that instant gratification. Because a lot of times people, they, as soon as they connect on that physical level,
Absolutely.
yeah, a lot.
Absolutely. As soon as they connect on the physical level, it's like, that's my man. That's my man. So,
Yeah. Oh, and that's yeah. I'll save that for another time. Hopefully, you'll be able to come back. Uh, maybe. What are some signs that a couple has strong emotional intimacy even without the physical contact?
ooh, I love this question. This is a really good question.
Mhm,
And I've actually never been asked this question before,
mhm,
but clinical wise,
mhm,
comfort with silence. A lot of individuals that I've counseled are not able to sit in silence. There always has to be fillers. And that shows you that someone that's anxious, it's very rare typically that they can sit in silence. Ability to discuss fears, shame, failures, those are so important.
mhm,
Emotional repair after conflict. This is a huge one. And this is typically where divorces end up happening because you let things fester and then it's like a pot and it all the emotions spill over. And
mhm,
in therapy world, we talk about the iceberg, right? How you see the tip of the iceberg, but what's underneath is all the other emotions and resentment that they might have. So emotional repair after conflict is really essential. Feeling emotionally regulated by your partner's presence. I know sometimes in relationships, like after you've had arguments, or if you keep arguing and day after day, you kind of feel anxious around them. You're not
mhm,
able to relax because you're like, oh, are we going to argue again? What's going to happen this time?
mhm,
And then also, having mutual curiosity and empathy towards your partner.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because trying to master, like, after that argument,
Hmm.
trying to repair afterwards can be challenging because emotions might still be high. I know for me personally, and I guess I'm telling my age, I grew up in that era where children should be seen and not heard.
Me too. I grew up in
Okay.
that as well.
Yeah. So I struggled because I was married for 15 years before I went through a divorce.
Okay.
Looking back, I struggled there big time because I just didn't know how do I repair this without me feeling like I'm the one that always have to apologize or so I struggle with that. But I didn't realize that until I got into therapy and I was just like, oh,
And that's why therapy is so important for
yes.
both to go together, premarital counseling, to go separately, and to really just heal before you jump into a relationship.
Hmm. I, this is not in my notes. So I want to ask you about this.
Uh-huh.
The, it's How do you feel about the whole healing thing? Because do you feel like because people, a lot of times people say about I should be healed by the time I get into a new relationship. Like,
Mhm.
even though it's an ongoing thing, like how do you know that you're like actually kind of healing? Is it just because you didn't struggle with those things before? Like how do you know that you're actually healing?
So it depends, right? Um, It depends on the individual, I would say, because I have seen people that are able to hop from one relationship to the other. I can't do that, especially if
Yeah.
I was in love with someone. For me, I have to take my time.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there's not a right or there is kind of a wrong way to do it.
But
What
tell us the
I
wrong way. Tell us the wrong way so that way we can flip it and be like, okay, well, maybe the positive. So yeah, tell us the negative stuff.
So the negative stuff is just not having emotional repairment and not being ready, and then you're just hopping from relationship and you're not fixing anything, right? Because one of the exercises that my own therapist did for me and that I now use for my clients is it's like we do a chart, right? And we're like, what are all the similarities of the individuals you dated? And usually it's like a flow chart. There's something, whether it's looks, whether it's personality, whether it's career, there's always something to kind of show that. So the wrong way is to relationship hop without actually fixing what the problem is. Because we have all been a villain in someone's story, right? Um, and so identifying your relationship pattern, right? Not just your ex, but it's like, do I chase? Do I avoid? Am I emotionally disappearing? Do I confuse intensity with intimacy? Do I feel safest when I'm needed or am I distant? So those are some questions that you need to ask yourself, and you need to learn to regulate your own nervous system, right?
Hmm.
So that's something, yeah, not responding immediately when triggered, not letting emotions peak. So all of those things are really important before you hop into a new relationship.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
That's
separating loneliness from readiness, that's a big one. I think that's a big one that I see a lot of women kind of struggle with, and men too sometimes. But
ooh, can you talk about that a little bit, please? That's so good. That's just
um,
really.
it is good because we all get lonely. As human beings, I think
Hmm.
sometimes with social media, we forget that we need women need men and men need women, right?
Yes.
That's just how it's supposed to be. So we need one another. So loneliness is a state. Readiness is what we call a capacity. And
Mm.
so if you are not ready for a relationship, what's going to happen is you're going to want someone to make you feel chosen. You're going to want someone to make you feel safe. You're going to want someone to make you feel worthy. It's almost going to be like a confidence booster, as you would say.
Hmm.
So you feel anxious when there's no constant communication. You know how you're dating someone and you're getting to know them, and you text them or call them, and then they don't respond in a certain time frame. You're kind of like, oh, are they texting somebody else, or what do they got going on? So kind of that, and then you interpret boundaries as rejection.
Mm.
So yeah, you're not ready when the connection is addictive and not stabilizing.
Mm. Like that, like that. That's good. Yeah, because a lot of times people will say, I'm just a serial dater,"
Hmm.
and so would serial dating be? I won't say a red flag, but would that kind of maybe turn on some lights? Maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, you're supposed to date, right? If you're
Right.
trying
Yes.
to be intentional about a husband or a wife, you are supposed to date.
Of course.
But a serial dater is more so the longs like, okay, I was in the relationship with John. We went together for 6 months. I took a month break. Then I was in a relationship with Gerald. And then that lasted for a year. And then I took another month break. And then I hopped into something else.
Hmm. Hmm. Agreed. Yeah, because sometimes I know if like when I was dating, I know it might seem like a long time ago, but it was
Mhm.
just like just trying to get to know one person was a lot because I'm like, okay, if I'm trying to get to know you, like I need to know your birthday or do you have kids or like I just need to remember all these things. Like so, if I'm talking to too many people at one time, I don't know. And maybe I'm just type of person I can't carry a whole bunch of stuff on my plate at one time. So if I'm
No, I
dating one person, I
understand.
just need to focus on you because I need to know you. So
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So what role does vulnerability play in building emotional intimacy?
So vulnerability is the gateway to intimacy. It signals trust and invites yeah, I would say it signals trust. From an attachment lens, vulnerability activates bonding systems and deepens emotional safety. So it's it's important.
Mhm.
And for a lot of individuals, self-disclosure is one of the strongest um predictors of emotional closeness and relationship longevity. So
Mhm.
it's extremely important.
Yeah, yeah. Because if I can share something with you and I'm not judged for it, or
Mhm.
now I will say this: I remember when my wife and I was dating, we were dating long distance. And there was a time in my life where if I felt like if you were asking too many questions, I'm like, why? Why are you asking all these questions? Oh my God.
Mhm.
You know, but I realized over time she was really just curious.
Yeah, she was genuinely interested in getting to know you. And you need to ask questions. I don't understand when people go on dates why they don't ask a lot of questions. Because when
Yeah.
I go on the first date, I want to know, does anybody else claim you? I want to
Hmm.
know if you have kids. I want to know if you're married. If you want to give me your social security number, that'd be great too. Like, I need to do a full background check.
Take a picture of the driver's,
So
driver.
this is a driver's license. I'm Googling people. Like, I don't play. I mean, I really could work for the FBI, honestly, at this point.
No, I hear you. I, I hear you because my wife was doing all kind of research on me. She had her girlfriends looking up that I mean, they.
Oh yeah,
That's
me and my friends, we are
yeah.
on it. It's so funny because I dated a guy once and
Mhm,
he had a background. I won't say exactly what.
mhm.
And I knew before he told me, he told me I think by the fourth date. And as he was explaining it to me, and I was just thinking, like, yep, I already knew this. I had already checked if you had a background. I know the whole story. But I mean, if he ever watched this now, he'll know. But I never told him that I already knew.
I seen that clip on Instagram. Yeah. Oh my God. So, what are some practical ways couple can start undressing emotionally, in the throat I'm air quotes, without crossing physical boundaries?
Ooh. Um, I would say for one, sharing formative experiences and memories that make them emotional.
Mm,
Naming fears, naming their triggers, and their attachment needs, because that's important. Um, Asking reflective questions like what makes you feel most seen, what makes you feel unseen, practicing emotional check-ins. This is very important for couples. I mean, sometimes it's not practical to have an emotional check-in once a month, but every other month you should be having an emotional check-in. You should be having a relationship check-in in general. And then I would say expressing appreciation and unmet needs without blame, because we're all busy, depending on our lifestyle, or if you have kids, or, just different things happen in life. And so I think sometimes you get so used to an individual that you forget to let them know that you appreciate them.
that's good. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm learning, and I got into the habit of now. My wife and I, when she make dinner, anything, I'm just like, thank you. Saying please and thank you. Like I tell people that can take you a long way
I
because
was gonna say that would take you a long way, just showing gratitude. Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes, because it's easy to be like, we've been together for years. I've gotten
Mhm.
used to her. I've gotten used to him, but just like show some love, show some appreciation.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why I tell men all the time, like the things that you did to get us, you have to continuously do those things. And women too. We as well, because we go the extra mile when we're dating, whether that's physical appearance, whether that's, cooking, cleaning, or giving
Mhm.
small gifts, just being thoughtful. But it's like after you've been with a person 2, 3 years, you kind of that all goes to the wayside. And those things are important to revive and revitalize the relationship.
Yeah, yeah, because it can be tough sometimes. I'm not making excuses, but it's just like,
That's just life.
yeah, we've had two kids since we were married, and it's just like, and they have autism, and so it's just,
Oh, wow.
oh my god, so it's so much
Yeah,
going on.
you're busy. Yeah, you have a lot going on. It's a lot of different dynamics.
Yeah, I mean, because even now it's like I asked my wife, "Can you put the kids to bed for me tonight?" Because we just had therapy, and I'm just like, "Please, can you put the kids to bed?" Because I
Mhm.
cannot have, I'm on an important time frame. So
Yeah, you kind of decompress a little bit.
yeah, I know, right? So, but I guess this is kind of my little therapy, little relaxation. I like to record and stuff like that. So
That's good.
yeah. So for singles, how can they practice emotional intimacy before they even enter another relationship?
Ooh, so I would say definitely psychologically healthy preparation would include developing emotional literacy. What does that look like for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then probably practicing vulnerability, because I think sometimes we all can we have layers to us. So sometimes it's hard to get people to peel back those layers, and being vulnerable is really important in a relationship,
Yeah.
before you enter into a new relationship. And then understanding your own personal attachment style, like what do you need and how do you attach to other people, right? And
Mhm.
understanding the pros and the cons of that attachment style.
Yeah.
Learning emotional regulation skills, and how to keep that in check.
Yeah.
And then definitely clarifying your boundaries and your needs. What are you looking for? Because so many of us go into the next relationship not even knowing what we're looking for, what we're trying to get
Mhm.
out of this relationship. Are you just dating to date? Are you looking for marriage? What exactly do you want?
Yeah. And that's a tough question to ask especially if you're on a date. I mean, granted, you can ask, but I wonder how many people can actually really answer that,
Right.
with
Exactly.
clarity. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I was interviewing a guy the other day, and he was saying like the question to ask is, do you want to get married or do you want to marry you?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because there's a difference. It's
Very
one thing to want to get married, but do you want to marry that person? That
Yeah,
changes.
that changes. Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Because
Mhm.
some people just want to get married.
Right. Yep.
Sorry, my dog wants to also be in the camera.
That's all good. Everybody's welcome.
He's a mama's boy.
That's funny. Dr. Fuller, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. Okay.
Hmm.
We're here. And so I want to pull a question. My wife and I created a intimacy card deck. It's called Love
Mm.
Endlessly Intimacy Card Deck. It's a 30 card set. And so these were questions that my wife and I, from people that we've talked to, coaching, all of that good stuff. And we compiled these questions. Great for date night, great for spouses, great for, first date. And I
Hmm.
want to ask you a card from the deck. I want to ask you a question. Okay. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. How did you manage hurt and disappointment growing up?
Oh, wait, I didn't know we was getting that deep. Oh my gosh, wait, I thought look, I'm here to counsel other people. I'm not here to tell my business. No, I've never been asked that question. That's actually a really good question. So I'll start off by saying I did have an amazing childhood. I did grow up in a two-parent home that was actually healthy. My parents have been married. How am I? My parents have been married 36 years, 36, 37
Oh,
years.
wow.
Yes. So I grew up in a very loving home where I saw two healthy parents, like that
Mhm.
loved each other, trust, reliability, just all those things. So I would say that, I didn't have a lot of like hurt or trauma growing
Mhm.
up. I had some disappointment. There's things that I think now I would do differently than my parents.
Of course.
Um, so I think for me, one of the things when I did feel disappointed in some of the things that my parents did, like for instance, I was a military brat.
Mm.
And I went to 4 different high schools, and I remember being so angry with my parents because I'm like, by 17, my senior year, I was on my 4th high school. And
Mm.
not even just in the States, we were like international, coming back. So
Oh,
it was a lot for like a 17-year-old. And then I had a boyfriend at the time that I was so in love with. So I had to learn like through self-reliance and I would say emotionally compartmentalization.
yeah.
So
That's
that's
good.
one of the things that I had to learn to adapt by, minimizing my expectations of my parents and
Right.
relying on myself for stability and reassurance. Because when it came to stability in friends in high school, I was constantly moving around. Now I'm thankful for that experience, but I think back then it did affect me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm sure that can be challenging, especially, in high school. Um,
Hmm.
you, you get your friends and stuff like that. So, yeah, I only can imagine. Um, okay. And so, because you answered the question so great, I want to go a little further.
Okay. Oh wow. Well, that was further. Not just kidding.
Okay, well, this one isn't as bad. Okay, so this is Dr. Fuller uncut. So there's no wrong answer.
Not uncut.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
uncut back in the day.
Back in the day, I know. Yeah, sometimes, yeah. When I say that, sometimes people be like, "Oh, yeah, okay." They kind of
Mhm.
perk up, like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, we remember.
I remember. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember. Okay, so bonus round. So what's the biggest mistake you see women make when it comes to dating?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good question because I see a lot of different mistakes.
You,
Um,
you
I
can
would
talk about a couple
say
of them if you want to.
I would say one, giving too much of themselves when they just start dating. So, actually, let me start with this.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of women, when they date, they kind of zone into one guy. I feel like women don't really know how to date. Men date properly. Like a lot of my male clients, they are dating multiple women. And I'm not talking about sex,
Right,
I'm
right.
talking about getting to know multiple people.
Mhm.
And I feel like men do that a lot better than women. And I'm not saying you don't need a entourage. I'm just saying like maybe three people. And then they kind of cut down from there, which I think is great. I feel like women, and I've done this myself, like you like a guy and you're just zone into him. And that's something that I even do because when I really like a guy, it's hard and I'm so busy, it's
Mhm.
hard for me to date multiple men. So I've always honestly been the type of girl to really just date one or two guys. And I'm so quick to like give them the axe that it doesn't take me long to figure out what I want because I'm very picky. And I
Mhm.
just know at this point in my life, like exactly what I want. So I feel like we ignore data early on, right? Because dating is about collecting data. That's how I see it from like a scientific standpoint. I'm taking notes. I'm listening to what you're saying. Um, and so I feel like discrepancies between words and behavior are typically rationalized by women instead of taken at face value. So if a man is like, hey, you know what? I'm not sure I want to have kids, a
Mhm.
woman might say, well, you know what? I probably can change his mind. And that's just kind of how we think. We're so competitive. Women are actually very competitive. So we always think that we can change a man. I was going to say a different word, but we always think that we can change a man.
No, I
Oh,
get it. It's a couple of them out there, so no, I'm not mad at you. Yeah,
yeah. So, and
yeah.
just premature emotional labor. I see a lot of that. Providing emotional support to men we just met, reassurance, trying to be the caregiver, cook, clean, sex them. It's just like slow down, like make him earn something a little bit. So that, and then definitely confusing chemistry and compatibility. That's another big one.
Can you talk about that, please? Because I hear that, and I think a lot of people don't know the difference. So can you please talk about that?
Okay, so when I say confusing chemistry and compatibility, chemistry is what you're going to feel. Um, it's almost like the neurons in your brain are like ping, 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 ping. Like you
Mhm.
meet somebody, it could be a girl, it could be a guy, and you're like, dang, like I feel like I've known them for forever. It's your body chemically reacting, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Compatibility is what you guys actually have in common. So, and when I say in common, I'm not talking about both y'all mamas went to the same college or something like that. I'm talking about relational capacity, like shared values,
Yes.
emotional availability, communication skills, conflict resolution. That's a huge one. Lifestyle alignment, the ability to co-regulate under stress. Those things are compatibility, and chemistry is really just your nervous system response. So that's why it's driven by dopamine and adrenaline and novelty. So we confuse the two because chemistry, when we look at chemistry, it answers, do I feel something with this person? But compatibility is, can I build a stable, healthy life with this person? And I
Mhm.
think that sometimes it gets mistaken because when our nervous system takes over and we feel that connection, even if safety isn't present, we just feel like we're cleaved with that person because they're doing something to our body.
Mhm. Mhm. And so it's that feeling that a lot of people can't get past the feeling in spite of what someone might tell you, even though your values might not align.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
that's when the confusion comes in. That's when situationships come in. So,
Mhm.
it's a lot of red flags when people cannot differentiate the difference between chemistry and compatibility.
That's good. I'm glad you cleared that up. I do want to kind of backtrack just a little bit because you talked
Mhm.
about how you said when women's like, I can change him, or like where does that come from? Like, is like help me understand because I don't yeah, help me understand, please, because I don't. I'm like
I
everybody's
think
different.
it's from Disney, honestly.
Ah,
Um, no,
I wouldn't. Yeah,
you
that's
know what? I do feel like that is just kind of our um that's our competitive nature, or just as women we're so nurturing and we want to pour so much into our partner that sometimes, we believe that we can change someone because we're like, well, you know what, he's never had a woman like me, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And one thing that we have to realize is, across the board, no man is going to change unless he actually wants to change.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times as women, we see potential as commitment, and we interpret effort as love. And sometimes we can confuse certain types of empathy with responsibility. So, you know, one of the things I'll tell my clients and even my friends from a psychological reality is people change only when three conditions are present. Three, that's it. Insight, they recognize their own problem. Ownership, they take responsibility without defensiveness. And
Mm,
then sustained action, the behavior changes consistently over time. And that's it.
ooh, that's good. I like that. Yeah, because and I know we are all fearfully and wonderfully made, and we're individuals, and we can do great things. But sometimes, because I used to wonder, I was like, you're not going to change him. Why do you
And
think?
we lower our standards like every single time. It's like increased emotional labor on us. We're lowering our standards, we're getting disappointed, and then there's this erosion of desire and self-trust. So, I tell women we have to reframe it, right? And so instead of saying the question isn't can he change, because he can if he wants to, the
Mhm.
question is would I choose him exactly as he is today for the next 5 to 10 years? And that's
Mm,
something my therapist taught me, because I be
mm.
thinking I'm out here saving people, including the men that I'm with. Okay.
Because a lot of times, you see women in relationships with guys, and it's all of a sudden, he became a project. Like, I
Yeah,
can
we
make.
like projects. We like projects. Absolutely. And that's why, something that stuck with me when I was, or I'm still in therapy, but my therapist, she would say, like, love is not rehabilitation. And partnership requires readiness, not potential. And I say this to myself all the time. And you don't date someone you don't date who someone could become. You're dating like who they're willing to be.
Mhm. Ooh, yeah, because I hear a lot of the sisters be like, I was I was a builder bear. I was,
Hmm.
I was a project chick. I heard the song not too long ago. I was like, wait a minute, project chick probably meant something different.
No, it meant
Could it been built? Could it been? Were you
mm-mm.
trying to build somebody?
Wasn't thinking that deep. But I like that. I like that twist on it. But nah, that's not what that was
Okay,
about.
so he wasn't talking about women that was trying to build me. He wasn't talking about. Okay, no, I know. I'm tripping.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
I'm
But
tripping. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. I had to throw that in there. So, at what age did you fall in love with yourself?
oh, I would say I've always felt that I loved myself,
Mm,
but I think the boundaries and true self-worth and love probably came around 25. And then
mm,
I felt really in my womanhood at 30. When I turned 30, the things that I used to care about, people's perception of me or opinions, like that's when I felt like by 30, I felt like I really knew who I was. Like I felt worthy,
mm,
and I didn't need anyone to make me feel worthy because I felt worthy within myself. And I felt like, you know, I feel like I knew my relationship with God strengthened. So,
mm.
yeah, I would say 25, but definitely by 30.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, it took for me. Yeah, I think I was about maybe 40.
Mhm.
It took me a little while, but better late than never, right?
Better late than never. Exactly. And sometimes it does take time depending on, past trauma or, childhood, adolescent. So all of those things I tell people all the time, we still have those little kids inside of us. And that's why it's so important sometimes to speak to your inner child, because they're always still with us.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, so it was
Oh, okay.
yeah, born and raised. So, last question:
Hmm.
is it easier to love yourself or someone else?
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to answer this from two different perspectives.
Yes.
Um, I would say most people would say it's easier to love yourself, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like from a scientific perspective,
Hmm.
it's easier to love someone else. I feel like we are very harsh on ourselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
A lot of people, their self-worth is fragile, but I think we are able, for some of us, we're able to give more grace than others.
Yes.
But I would say from a scientific standpoint, the stats show that it's a lot easier to love someone else.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, because there's like an external focus, right? So
Yep.
allowing others to direct care or forgiveness or patience or avoiding just self confrontation is easy for a lot of people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, self love, I feel like sometimes is a lot harder because it requires tolerating your own perfections, which a lot of times we like to sweep that under the rug. Um, Sitting with shame or grief that you might have or your past trauma. And sometimes we numb those things. We're
Yep.
not trying to like tap into those things. And
Yep.
then I think it's hard to set boundaries for yourself because you don't want to disappoint others.
Hmm.
So, choosing long-term self-respect over, short-term attachment pretty much.
Hmm. Yeah, because sometimes some people attach their self worth to what they can do for others.
Mhm.
And so it's like, yeah, I feel loved because I was able to do something for, for somebody else or, you know,
And I
but
think it's easier to love someone else because it feels familiar and rewarding in a sense, you
hmm
know, give and provide love. And I think sometimes it's harder to love yourself because that requires maturity, boundaries, and emotional, attunement, which are also the things that you should be giving to other people.
yeah, totally agree. Yeah, because that can be a challenge sometimes, loving yourself. Because I know I'm hard on myself. I know
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, Sean, you did it again. Huh? I messed up.
Yeah. Mhm. But if your wife was to mess up, what would you tell her?
Oh, babe, you good. You good. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly how it is.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, on that note, Dr. Fuller, can you let everyone know how they can get in touch with you, any events you have coming up, how they can get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with me on my Instagram at Dr. Canary. That's Dr.Canary. And yeah, I don't have any events or anything coming up. This is actually the first podcast I did this year because I had actually slowed down a lot since last year because I have some other endeavors I've been focusing on. Um, so yeah, I don't really have anything coming up anytime soon, but if I do, it will be on my Instagram.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I definitely count this an honor to have you as a guest. I've been following your work for a while. So
Oh,
thanks.
thank you. I appreciate that. And
Yes.
your work is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, don't hang up yet. Brave Arts community, you heard it here. So go connect with Dr. Fuller if you haven't already. Make sure you go and hit the subscribe button, share this with a friend, get my likes up, get the likes up. Thank you all for rocking with me. If you are listening to this via podcast, make sure you leave a rating and review. By doing so, put you in a drawing for a free Amazon gift card. Who doesn't like free stuff? This is Shon Hyneman with today's special guests.
Hey. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. All right, Brave Arts community.